We live in an era where we are never truly alone. Our homes watch us, our phones track us. Even the rhythm of our hearts is recorded in the cloud. Nancy Guthrie lived in a high-security sanctuary in the Catalina Foothills of Tucson, Arizona. At 84 years old, her life was measured in data. A sophisticated smart home system monitored her perimeter. A state-of-the-art pacemaker monitored her life. On the night of February 1, 2026, the data went dark. At exactly 2:28 a.m., a Bluetooth handshake that had occurred every 10 minutes for years suddenly failed. Nancy's pacemaker, a marvel of modern medicine, sent out a final automated alert to a server in California. Signal loss. It wasn't a medical emergency. It was a disconnection. Somewhere in the silence of the Arizona night, a human life had been scrubbed from the network. This is the story of a high-tech fortress that became a blind spot, a case where the most important witness was a heart that wouldn't stop beating, and a digital ghost that refused to be erased. To understand the gravity of the disappearance, one must understand the woman who vanished. Nancy Guthrie was the matriarch of a family that had achieved the American dream. Her daughter, Savannah, was a household name. Her home was a sanctuary of peace. Saturday, January 31st, began as any other weekend for the Guthrie family. Nancy took an Uber to her daughter Annie's home at 5:32 p.m. They ate dinner, they played games, they planned for the week ahead. At 9:48 p.m., Nancy's son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, dropped her off at her front door. He watched as the garage door opened. He waited until she was safely inside. At 9:50 p.m., the garage door closed. It would be the last time a family member saw Nancy Guthrie in her home. The following morning, Sunday, February 1st, Nancy's absence was first noticed not by her family, but by her faith. Nancy was a pillar of her local church. When her seat remained empty during the morning service, her friends grew concerned. They called her family. By 11:56 a.m., relatives arrived at the house. The doors were locked. The car was in the garage. But the woman who relied on a walker was gone. When Pima County Sheriff's deputies arrived at 12:15 p.m., they found a scene that defied explanation. There was no forced entry, no shattered glass, but there were signs that Nancy had not left willingly. On the front porch, forensic technicians discovered several small, dark droplets on the stone steps. Under a high-intensity forensic light, the stains were unmistakable. DNA testing was fast-tracked. The results confirmed the investigators' worst fears. The blood belonged to Nancy Guthrie. Investigators then turned to the home's security system. Nancy had a Ring-style doorbell camera, a device designed to record every visitor. But when they checked the logs, they found a void. At 1:47 a.m., the doorbell camera had been manually disconnected. The physical unit was missing. Someone had not only blinded the house, they had taken the witness with them. However, the system's internal software continued to track movement. At 2:12 a.m., the software detected motion in the living room. Because Nancy did not have an active cloud subscription for her cameras, the video was never saved. The software saw the intruder, but it couldn't show the face. With the video evidence erased, investigators turned to the only evidence that couldn't be manipulated: the clinical data from Nancy's heart. Nancy's pacemaker utilized a Bluetooth bridge to sync with her iPad. Analysts from the FBI's Cyber Division examined the logs from the night of the disappearance. What they found was a physiological record of terror. At 2:21 a.m., Nancy's heart rate spiked to 142 beats per minute. For a woman in deep sleep, this was an impossibility. It was a fight or flight response. 7 minutes later, at 2:28 a.m., the signal strength began to drop. The pacemaker was being moved away from the iPad. At the exact moment Nancy was being forced out of her home and into a vehicle, the Bluetooth connection reached its limit. The signal was lost. The digital umbilical cord was severed. Profilers suggest this level of technical planning is rare. To disable a doorbell camera at 1:47 and extract a victim by 2:28 suggests a professional team. Someone who understood the layout of the home. Someone who understood the blind spots of the smart home era. As the search intensified, the Guthrie family faced a new nightmare. In the absence of information, predators began to emerge. Multiple ransom notes arrived via encrypted email to local television stations, including KOLD and KGUN. The notes demanded millions of dollars in Bitcoin. They included specific details about Nancy's Apple Watch and the clothing she was wearing. On February 5th, an arrest was made. A Southern California man named Derek Colella was charged with transmitting a false ransom demand. He was a scammer, attempting to profit from a family's grief. But other messages were different. On February 7th, Savannah Guthrie released a video on social media, flanked by her siblings. Her message was simple. "We received your message," she said, "and we will pay." The FBI is currently analyzing a message sent to KOLD on Friday, February 6th. It is a message investigators believe could be credible. As the search enters its second week, investigators are focusing on a lead that has haunted the neighborhood since the beginning. A neighbor reported seeing a white panel van parked near Nancy's home in the days leading up to the disappearance. In the rugged, open terrain of the Catalina Foothills, a strange vehicle does not go unnoticed. Tucson sits only 60 miles from the Mexican border. If Nancy was moved quickly, she could have been across the line before the family even realized she was missing. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos has expressed growing concern about Nancy's health. She is 84 years old, she has limited mobility, and most importantly, she is without her vital daily medication. "The clock is literally ticking," the sheriff said. "She lives in constant pain. She is without her medicine." The FBI has offered a $50,000 reward. Savannah Guthrie has offered her family's peace, but the desert remains silent. Nancy Guthrie's home stands as a quiet monument to a life interrupted. The blood on the porch has been analyzed. The digital logs have been parsed. We believe that our technology acts as a silent guardian. We believe that if the worst happens, there will be a record. But the abduction of Nancy Guthrie reveals a chilling truth. Our devices can tell us when a heart breaks. They can tell us when a signal is lost. But they cannot tell us where a grandmother has been taken. Somewhere in the vastness of the Southwest, a pacemaker continues to beat. But without a receiver, the heart's message is lost to the wind. The search continues. But for now, the signal remains lost.